Hi! Welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing You Get Me Going by Moscareto. Now before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled in some Manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. Now for those of you left behind, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to self-deprecation, excessive drinking, slut-shaming, violence, car accidents, homomesia, mental abuse, manipulation, implied sexual assault, power imbalance, body shaming, gossiping, PTSD, and harassment, as these things do appear in the manhwa. Now, if that's all good with you, let's go ahead and get started. As always, let's start with the synopsis. Youngwon wants a fairy tale romance. Though he has some relationship and sexual experience under his belt, they were all cruel or useless men. Hardly anything he would consider a real romance of any kind. Youngwon is tired of settling for shitty partners, so he wants to get out into the dating pool and find the Prince Charming he has longed for all this time. Unfortunately, work makes it challenging to find time to date around, and the added stress of working alongside his polar opposite certainly doesn't put him in the mood for love. This rival in question is Hyunwoo. Though he's as handsome as a prince, his attitude is anything but. He's direct and rude, often making fun of and picking on Youngwon in meetings until their discussions become full-blown arguments. Even if Hyunwoo were the last man on Earth, Youngwon would sooner die than be with him. They spend every day making each other's workday a living hell, and as a result, the rivalry is well known around the office. However, Hyunwoo and his antics are far from Youngwon's mind when he gets matched up for a blind date by his good friend who owns a restaurant where they will be meeting. All day to show off in front of Hyunwoo, Youngwon talks about how great his date's supposed to be and how excited he is to meet them. Unfortunately for Youngwon, the person he meets is none other than Hyunwoo. The date ends in disaster, but with their sexualities revealed to each other, they start to see each other in another light. Can these two enemies become lovers, or are they destined to hate each other forever? After this series, I've determined that Moscareto is probably one of my favorite manhwa writers of all time. Even when I don't care for the art, every time I've read something they've written, I end up just loving the story, which overtakes any qualms I have over the art. This is one of those cases. The art is much more my preference than the other Moscareto work I've read, The New Recruit, but it's still not the best. The faces can look odd, particularly with the eyes and mouths, and some stances just look stiff and awkward. Overall though, the art is fine. Of our two main characters, Youngwon is much more consistent and nicer to look at, but neither is that bad. As I briefly mentioned earlier, even if the art isn't exactly to my taste, with Moscareto involved, the story almost certainly is. I love a good hate-to-love scenario, which we do see here, and just like Moscareto's previous work, it's an office romance, which, again, love. The best part about this is their personalities. Youngwon is so extroverted while being easily embarrassed and nervous with his partner. On the other hand, Hyunwoo is rough and also extroverted, but he's gentle and considerate with a partner. It's a wonderful depiction of how people are multifaceted, especially when in the presence of someone they love versus everyone else. I am particularly fond of Hyunwoo, who takes the time to understand Youngwon and why he is the way he is in the bedroom. He very easily could have been a red flag top, but he isn't. Instead, he tries to show Youngwon what a relationship should be like, how he can be honest with someone without fearing they'll hurt or leave him, and to be affectionate and loving if he wants to. Hyunwoo builds up Youngwon and encourages him to do as he pleases, which is so heartwarming. In turn, seeing Youngwon grow from a person terrified to have sex with the lights on to then initiating and being open to being vulnerable with someone is so sweet. But his growth isn't limited to the bedroom. Youngwon learns to stand up for himself against someone who traumatized him, and even show affection for the one he loves in public because he wants to. Seeing Youngwon grow into his own is so awesome. This is worth rooting for that alone. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the one flaw with all of this. Hyunwoo's development is pretty fast. He goes from claiming that he isn't interested in marriage or long-term relationship, but he's proposing within a couple of weeks of being with Youngwon. It's romantic for sure, but it just doesn't feel as believable as Youngwon's growth over the course of the series. Granted, Youngwon is so cute during sex, and I guess I would probably want to lock him down forever too. They seem very compatible in bed, and outside of it too, of course, so this could be a case of finding the right person being enough to completely change someone, but it's just hard to accept in such a short time. It's still cute though, so it's hard to fault it. With all that being said, I love this. It's very sweet, romantic, and smutty, with excellent writing and character development. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I've happily reread this time and time again, and I think it's definitely worth a read if you haven't already. So, have you read You Get Me Going? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know and comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!